Then let us proceed with the second part of the video of the chapter, the Mughal Empire. Let us talk about Akbar's religious policy. So Akbar believed in the policy of equality, harmony. Harmony means a situation in which people are peaceful and agree with each other. Kindness and tolerance. So tolerance means capacity to endure pain or hardship. He was broad-minded. So Akbar was broad-minded means he was willing to accept other people's behavior and beliefs. And for this reason what Akbar did was he established Ibadat Khana at Fatehpur Sikri. So this Ibadat Khana which he established at Fatehpur Sikri, this was used for religious debates and discussions with the learned people of other religions. He believed that people who were adamant. So this word adamant means refusing to persuade or to change one's mind. And the people were intolerant. So intolerant means disapproving of or refusing to accept ideas or ways of behaving that are different from your own to other religions. Now this was dividing the society by ordering unquestionable. This word unquestionable means undoubtedly, and dictate means in order or principle that must be obeyed. And rituals. So this word rituals means a religious service or other ceremony which involves a series of actions. For that reason he developed Sul-e-Kul. So this Sul-e-Kul, it was the meaning of universal peace. So Sul-e-Kul means universal peace. And he started a new religious faith. So he started a new religious faith that was called Din Ilahi in 1582, or it was an order called Din Ilahi. In 1582 it was established. The main feature, now let's talk about the main features of the Din Ilahi. So these features of Din Ilahi was, say for example, that it was to focus on harmony. So this harmony means that people should have peace of mind and among people of different religions. This harmony or this negotiation of trusting each other, or you can say that belief of trusting each other or keeping peace with each other, it should happen with the people of different religions. He insisted means persist in doing something, or he demanded forcefully, which had to be like honesty, justice. So justice means a concept on ethics and law, that means that people behave in a way that is fair, equal and balanced for everyone and in peace. Akbar was helped by Abul Fazl. So Abul Fazl, he was the author of Akbarnama and he helped Akbar to develop Din Ilahi. So now this act was, or the process of constructing this Din Ilahi. So here Abul Fazl helped Akbar in constructing the governance. Governance means, in simple terms, we can say the way a group of people such as a country doing things. Many groups create a government to decide how things are to be done and how government decision making affects people in that nation. And with this concept of Din Ilahi, in which there was respect and space given to everyone to practice their own religion. Now, after this, we will talk about Akbar's administration. Now, let us look into the Akbar's administration policies. So, administration means the process or activity of running a business, organization, etc. It says here Akbar was the supreme commander. So this word supreme means the highest in rank or authority, and commander means a person in authority, especially over a body of troops or a military operation of the army. Akbar, he established a centralized, this centralized word means control of an activity or organization under a single authority. So Akbar established a centralized administration or the process or activity of running a business, organization, etc., and ruled with the help of various ministers. Again, this word minister means in some countries a head of a government department, and these ministers were appointed by Akbar, and he had the right and power to dismiss them if someone did not live up to his expectation. So this word live up to his expectation, meaning the belief that something will happen or be the case. So here it means Akbar had the right and power to order the ministers to leave if they could not meet Akbar's expectation or if they did not follow what they were asked to be done. Children, important people in terms of governance during the Mughal Empire. Now we will go through the topic governance. So this term in the Mughal period. So there are various people who were enrolled in this administration. Children, now some important people in terms of governance during the Mughal Empire was Wazir. So Wazir was the head of revenue department but reduced power as compared to Sultanate. Diwan. So this word Diwan, this minister, he was the minister of finance. And Bakshi. Bakshi was the head of the military and was called the Mir Bakshi. And Qazi. Qazi was the minister of judicial department. Khan-e-Saman. Now let's talk about Khan-e-Saman. So Khan-e-Saman was previously designated as Mir-e-Saman and whose importance was recognized later by the award of the dignified nomenclature, and he was given a title of Khan-e-Saman. He performed a large number of important household duties. And another thing that we would like to talk about right now is their responsibilities. So the Wazir advised Akbar on all matters of administration. The Diwan looked after the revenue affairs and the Bakshi was the military advisor. The Qazi looked after judicial and Khan-e-Saman looked after the royal household. Now let's know about Diwan-e-Khas or hall of private audiences. So Diwan-e-Khas, this was the hall of private audience and this was a chamber in the Red Fort of Delhi built in 1648. It was also known as the Shah Mahal. The emperor or Akbar consulted his ministers in Diwan-e-Khas and he used to meet the common people in Diwan-e-Am. So this word Diwan-e-Am, there used to be meeting done with the emperor and the people, which was a room in Red Fort of Delhi where the Mughal emperor Shah Jahan and his successors received members of the general public and heard their grievances. So now let us talk about the provincial administration. So provincial, this word is related to an area that is governed as part of a country or an empire. Administration. Administration is the process or activity of running a business, organization, etc. So before we proceed with this topic, let's learn about the people who were enrolled in the provincial administration. So this word provincial administration. So now let's say that one of the areas that a country or empire is divided into parts of the organization of its government, which often has some control over into own laws. So these were the provinces or subas. And the Subha. Now the Subha was the term for a province in the Mughal Empire. The word is derived from Arabic and Persian. Now we will talk about the division of the province or Subha, which is Sarkar. Sarkar, it is a historical administration unit which mostly in this chapter another term for country subdivision. And the sarkars were further divided into parganas. So this word parganas means it was introduced by the Delhi Sultanate, and the word is of Persian origin, as a revenue units consisting of one or more villages and the surrounding countryside, or in simple terms as a group of towns in India constituting an administrative subdivision of the Zilla. So we finished with the provincial administration. Now let us go to the provincial administration in brief. So the empire was divided into provinces or subas, and each province was under the subedar. So this word subedar means it's a historical, civil or military rank originally relating to a senior official of the Mughal Empire who government used to assign subas or province under the British rule in India. It was a designation given to an Indian military officer of a rank equivalent to that of captain or viceroy. So right now we are talking about subedar. So subedar, he was assisted by Diwan, Bakshi, Kotwal, police officer and Qazi. These provinces, they were further divided into sarkars, and the sarkars were further divided into parganas, which were further divided into villages. After this, we will talk about the military and administrative system of the Mughal Empire. Now let us look into the military and administrative appointments. So this appointment was given to the civil and the military officials to look after the military and administrative system. So this word administrative, it is relating to the work of managing or organizing a business or business activity, and this appointment was given during the time of Akbar's regime. So this word regime means a particular government or a system or method of government. So during this time Akbar was there. A novel method. So this word novel, it's a new and original method. The meaning of novel, it's a new and original and not like anything seen before. So this military administration was started, and this was famously known as Mansabdari system. The word Mansab is of the Arabic origin, which means rank or position. The Mansab was given to every military and civil official, and they were called as Mansabdar. So this rank was offered to every civil official and military official. They were known as Mansabdars. The emperor appointed the Mansabdar, and their salaries were given either in cash or even they were given jagirs. So this word jagirs, it means a feudal land grant which is given by the rulers to the Mansabdars for the Mansabdars providing services to the rulers. This jagir, so this land revenue means a state's annual income from which public expenses are met, and the responsibility to collect the land revenue was left in the hands of the Mansabdars. So they had the rights to collect the land revenue from the land which had been granted by the emperor to the Mansabdars. Mansabdari system was a grading system, and it was used by Mughals to fix rank, salary and military responsibility. According to the number of horses or horsemen maintained by the Mansabdars, their salary and rank was determined. So this means firm decision to be made by the emperor according to the number of the horses and the horsemen maintained by the Mansabdars. The number of people under his command were graded. Means this system of grading means a rank or a score. So these grades were called Zats. The grading system, and these grades were called Zats. Now let's see an example here. It says that Mansabdar with a Zat. So this word Zat, this means the scoring or the grading system. And example we can see here that the Mansabdar with a Zat or grade of 7,000 was the highest and the Zat of 20 was the lowest. So here the responsibilities of the Mansabdars was to maintain the number of horses and horsemen. So this horseman means a rider on a horseback, especially a skilled one. The Mansabdar, so this Mansabdar's responsibility, this Mansabdars, they had to maintain certain number of horses and certain number of horsemen. And the other responsibility was to bring the horses and horsemen for a review. So this review means to assess and get the men registered and horses branded. So this word horses branded means to make a label or mark with. After that the Mansabdars were given money. So once they used to bring the horses and horsemen for the assess and the horses were branded, after that their payment of the salary for the Mansabdars were made. Mansabdari or the military unit within the administrative system of the Mughal Empire was not hereditary. So this word hereditary means they did not pass down through families or ancestors. So this was not a permanent land which was given to the Mansabdars, and it was not hereditary. This land did not belong to their ancestors. And the Mansabdars were recruited. This recruited means they used to persuade someone to work for a company or become a new member of an organization, especially the army or other word you can say, hired to provide services for the company. And these Mansabdars, they were taken from different backgrounds like Turanis, Iranis, Afghans, Rajputs, Indians, and it was from the other regions as well, that is etc. And this was done because Akbar's empire had expanded, or Akbar had a huge empire. His regions extended from a large amount, you can say, or a large capacity of his kingdoms had extended. So that's why Akbar had hired Mansabdars from different regions to different parts of the country. So this was about the Mansabdari system, and now we will see how intelligent the people of the Akbar's court was there, or these were known as the Navratans. Now let us recognize this Navratans of Akbar, or the 9 gems in the Akbar's court. First one was Birbal. He was in charge of administration of justice at the royal court, and he is famous for his wit and wisdom. So this word wit, which means he was an intelligent person and he was famous for his intelligence, and wisdom means he was a very knowledgeable person, having a good experience, and he had a good judgment, and he was wise. Todar Mal. So Todar Mal, he was a revenue expert. So he carried out land reforms. So Todar Mal, he was an expert in carrying out land reforms or the changes in the land system, and also the revenue. So the tax expert was also known as Todar Mal. Bhagwan Das. So Bhagwan Das, he was a great military commander who led the forces in many battles. And Man Singh. So Man Singh, he was another military commander who defeated Maharana Pratap in the battle of Haldi Ghati. Tansen. Tansen, he was a famous musician who is also known as Sangeet Samrat or King of Songs. Let's know about Abul Fazl. Abul Fazl, he was an author and he was quite a learned person, and he was full of knowledge, and he wrote Akbarnama. So Akbarnama is a book of Akbar, and it talks about the historical event that happened during the rule of Akbar. And Aini Akbari. Aini Akbari is also a book which is the third volume of Akbarnama. It contains information on Akbar's reign in the form of administrative reports of the Mughal Empire under Emperor Akbar. Now, Sheikh Faizi. Now, this Sheikh Faizi, he was a poet who translated Ramayana and Mahabharata into Persian language. Abdur Rahim. Abdur Rahim, his famous book Rahim Satsai is a collection of dohas. So this word dohas, these are lyrical verse. This is a format which was extensively used by Indian poets and bards of North India. So we'll talk about Sheikh Mubarak. Sheikh Mubarak, he was a literary laureate. So this word laureate means a person who was honored with an award for outstanding creative or intellectual achievement. Now we will move into the art and culture. Now we will study about the art and culture, which is an interesting thing to know about. And it means the ideas, this culture means the ideas, customs and social behavior of a particular people or society. So Akbar, during his time of his rule, he had chosen number of artists from different parts of the country to make paintings, and one of the famous painter was Basavan in his court. Although Akbar, he was illiterate means a person who is unable to read or write, he had appointed educated and learned people in his court from different walks of life. So this term walks of life means it is referred to the people who have come from different places for different jobs or position in the society. And Akbar regularly interacted with these 9 gems or Navratans. These personalities means the person in his court, the 9 people, they were known as the Navratans or 9 gems. Now let's see some questions and get answers from here. The first question, name the religious order of faith started by Akbar. It will be Din Ilahi. Number 2, what were the key features of Din Ilahi? We will move on to page number 40 and see the answer here. The main feature of Din Ilahi was to focus on harmony amongst people of different religions. Number 2 point, he insisted on honesty, justice and peace. Question number 3. Who advised Akbar on matters of administration and revenue affairs? Matters of administration, it will be Wazir, and revenue affairs, it will be Diwan. Question number 4. Where did Akbar meet the common people? The answer would be the Akbar met common people in Diwan-e-Am. Number 5. What were the tasks of the Mansabdars? So for this one, we will talk about the task here in page number 40. So first question point here, it will be each Mansabdar was supposed to maintain a number of horses and horsemen. Number 2 point, the Mansabdar was to bring the horses and horsemen for a review and get the men registered and horses branded. Let's go to question number 6. Name the Navratans of Akbar. So this will be in page number 41. He would be Birbal, Todarmal, Bhagwan Das, Man Singh, Tansen, Abu Fazl, Sheikh Fazl, Abdur Rahim, Sheikh Mubarak. These were the 9 gems of the Akbar's court or the Navratans. Now we will start with another ruler, and his name was Jahangir. Now we will discuss about Jahangir. Jahangir was the son of Akbar, who was also known as Salim. His rule lasted about 22 years after the demise, meaning death, of Akbar in 1605. In the last 16 years of his life, Nur Jahan, his wife, exercised. So this word exercised means an action which is taken with the intention to improve something happening. So Nur Jahan exercised a great influence. Influence means the power to have an effect on people, things or a person that is able to do this. So this had influenced Jahangir, and Nur Jahan even signed orders on his behalf during his reign. So this word reign means during the rule of Jahangir, he continued with the policies of military campaign. So this word military campaign, it denotes the time during which a given military force conducts combat operation in a given area, often referred to as area of operation. He also, to get the better in a conflict, overcame resistance. So this word resistance means he refused to accept something from many kings like the king of Mewar and Kangra. Jahangir is famous for the chain of justice. So Jahangir, he was famous for the chain of justice. So this chain of justice, a chain was connected to a bell, and any aggrieved. The word aggrieved means the person who has some kind of resentment and he had the feeling of being treated unfairly. He could pull the chain and as a result sound the bell or approach him directly. So during his regime, so this word regime means, you can say, a government. There was silver coins and gold coins that had been minted. So this word minted means a place where coins, paper or any kind of currencies are produced, which is under a government authority, and those coins of silver and gold, they showed the pictures of Jahangir and Nur Jahan. So silver and gold coins were minted during his rule. Minted means again produced under the government authority, and this silver and gold coins, they had the pictures of Jahangir and Nur Jahan. He also wrote his autobiography, means an account of a person's life written by that person. It was named as Tujuk-i-Jahangiri. Let us look at Sir Thomas Rao. He was an ambassador, was an English diplomat of the Elizabeth and Jacobean periods, and he represented England is the Mughal Empire. He was an English trader, means a person who buys and sells goods, currency or shares. He had come to Jahangir's court and he was granted permission to trade with India. So right now we are talking about Sir Thomas Rao. He was an ambassador and he had come to India in Jahangir's court, and he was an English trader. And at that time he was granted permission to trade with India. So Jahangir, he had continued with the administrative. So administrative, you can say the other word similarly as managerial system and policies of Akbar, and he died in 1627. So same policies as Akbar, Jahangir also followed in terms of managerial system, and policies of Akbar were followed also by Jahangir, and he died in 1627, and he was succeeded or won by his son Shah Jahan. Now let us talk about Shah Jahan. Children, now let us look at the period of Shah Jahan. He was the son of Jahangir who succeeded. Succeeded means he had taken over the throne after the death of Jahangir in 1627, and he also took several military campaigns in the Deccan region. So this Deccan region, it covers most of South India. It is surrounded by 3 mountain ranges. It extends over 8 Indian states, that is Telangana, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And even these two places, which is Bijapur and Golconda, they submitted. Submitted means they accepted the Mughals. There were campaigns launched against Ahmednagar. So he also launched a campaign against Ahmednagar and they successfully captured it. Here and said, now we will also talk about the Bundelas of Bundelkhand. So this Bundelas of Bundelkhand, they belong to the Rajput family of central India and they ruled several small states in the Bundelkhand region from the 16th century. They had been by the Mughals. Shah Jahan sent his armies to the northwest to seize. Seize means to take hold of suddenly and forcibly. So Shah Jahan sent his armies to take away bulk from Uzbeks. So this bulk of Uzbeks, so they were the person or the people of Uzbeks who were the bulk. They could not be succeeded by the campaign of Shah Jahan. Let's know a little bit about Balkh from Uzbeks. So Balkh is one of the 34th provinces of Afghanistan, located in the north of the country. The Uzbeks are a Turkic ethnic group native to Uzbekistan and wider Central Asia. It's the largest Turkic ethnic group in the area and comprises the majority population of Uzbekistan. Now, we will also know some important thing about Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan is famous for his art and architecture. Architecture means the art or practice of designing and constructing buildings. He got Taj Mahal built in the memory of his wife Mumtaz Mahal. Some of the other important buildings of his time are Moti Masjid at Agra and the Red Fort and Jama Masjid at Delhi. After this, we will move on to the let's check the questions and get some answers. Let us talk about another ruler who came after Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb. So Shah Jahan had 4 sons, Dara Sukho, Shah Shuja, Aurangzeb and Murad. Shah Jahan fell ill in 1657 century. There was a war of succession, means it is a war made by a succession crisis in which 2 or more individuals claim the right of success or deceased. This war of succession broke out and Aurangzeb emerged. Emerged means to appear by coming out of something. He proved to be victorious. Victorious means he won the war of succession and he became the ruler in 1658 century. He was a staunch Muslim. So this word staunch means he was loyal in supporting a person, organization or a set of beliefs or opinions. So Aurangzeb was a staunch Muslim and imposed. Imposed means he forced an unwelcome decision on someone and he did this on the non-Muslims by following a policy of jizya, by forcing the non-Muslims to pay a tax called jizya. And he also followed a policy of religious intolerance. So this word religious intolerance. Intolerance means the fact of refusing to accept ideas, beliefs or behavior that are different from your own. He reversed. Reversed means to turn the other way round. He reversed the policy of friendship with Rajputs and waged. Waged means to carry on a war against the rulers of. So he turned the other way round the relation of the Rajputs with the Mughal rulers and he waged or he carried out a war against the rulers of Mewar, Marwar and Bundelkhand. Aurangzeb sent his forces to Deccan and he tried to crush the powerful Marathas. So let us talk about these Marathas. They speak the Marathi language. In the 17th century, it also served as a designation for peasants or farmers, you can say, from the Deccan Plateau who served as soldiers in the armies of Muslim rulers and later in the armies of Shivaji. So Aurangzeb sent his forces to the Deccan and tried to crush the powerful Marathas and fought pitched battles. So this meaning of pitched battles is a large fight or a battle in which both sides stay in the same place. This happened between the forces of Aurangzeb and the Maratha ruler Shivaji. But this Deccan campaign, military forces operation in the Deccan. So again the meaning of Deccan campaign here is military forces combat operations in the Deccan. It led to financial. Financial means monetary and bankruptcy. So bankruptcy is filed when an organization is unable to make payment to its creditors. Then they file for bankruptcy. So the Deccan campaigns of Aurangzeb led to the financial bankruptcy of the government, which affected administration or the process or the management of public affairs running the organization. His policies of intolerance or the fact of refusing to accept policies, beliefs, etc. that are different from your own. And this refusing to accept policies, this led to the widespread unrest or a feeling of disturbance and dissatisfaction. There were conflicts. Conflicts meaning a serious argument or disagreement between the Ahoms in the Assam, the Sikhs and the Afghans in the northwest and with the Marathas in the south. So the trading agencies, trading means a business or organization providing a particular service on behalf of another person or group of the European countries. So these European countries, they had set a foot or they had entered on Indian shores or the Indian Ocean area and they started atrocides. So atrocides meaning an extremely cruel, violent or shocking act which created general unrest. So it created general unrest. This word general unrest means again dissatisfaction or disturbance. After the Europeans, they came to the Indian shores and they started creating violent or shocking act. This created general unrest or dissatisfaction or disturbance and agitation in the whole country. The death of Aurangzeb in 1707 marked as the beginning of the end of the Mughal Empire, as his sons kept fighting with each other and they divided the empire and became weak and indefensible. So indefensible means unable to protect against attack. Now we have spoken about Aurangzeb. Now we will again do the question and answers from Let's Check. Let us come back to Let's Check and do question number 1 first. Who was famous for the chain of justice? That would be Jahangir. Question number 2. Who wrote Tuzuk-i-Jahangiri? That would again be Jahangir. Number 3. Name the English trader who visited the court of Jahangir and got the permission to trade in India. That would be Sir Thomas Roe. Number 4. Name some of the prominent buildings built during the reign of Shah Jahan. This would be from page number 42. That would be some other important buildings of his time are Moti Masjid at Agra and the Red Fort and Jama Masjid at Delhi. Question number 5. What was Jizya? So Jizya, it was a tax imposed on non-Muslims. Number 6 question. Who introduced Jizya? It was Aurangzeb. Now we will move on to the Mughal administration and the various appointments. Now let us carry on with the Mughal administration. Administration or the arrangements and tasks needed to control of a plan or organization. In various appointments, these were made to manage the administrative system. First was the Mughal emperor. So here first it was Mughal emperor. So emperor means sovereign ruler of an empire. He was the ultimate authority. So this word ultimate authority, it means the main decision maker or the head of the management in the empire was the head of the administration. He was the Mughal emperor. Now let us move on to Wazir. Wazir, a senior minister and advisor of the emperor on all matters of administration or the arrangements and tasks needed to control of a plan or organization. Then we will come to Bakshi. Bakshi, he was the in charge of military affairs. Diwan, he was the in charge of revenue administration. So children, I had talked about revenue. It means a state's annual income from which public expenses are met. This administration was taken care by Diwan, and he also executed the plans for the revenue and how to control the revenue system. Now let's talk about Qazi. Qazi was the in charge of judiciary. Judiciary means collectively judges or the branch of government that interprets the law. This was being handled by Qazi. Khan-e-Zaman. So Khan-e-Zaman, he was the in charge of imperial. This word imperial meaning belonging to an empire or the person or country that rules. So Khan-e-Zaman was the in charge of imperial household or the establishment and affairs of a royal household. Now we will talk about Mir Tuzuk. Mir Tuzuk. He was the master of ceremonies. So ceremony means public or a formal religious occasions. He was in charge of that, Mir Tuzuk. Now let's talk about Kotwal. So Kotwal was the police officer in the city, and Daroga is the police officer in the districts. Now let us see the division of empire for administrative control. So first we will see, as discussed earlier, about the provincial administration. There was division of empire for Mughal control, which were as empire, subas, sarkars, parganas and villages. After this we will move on to the Mansabdari system. Let's know about the Mansabdari system or the administrative system of the Mughal Empire. So this was introduced by Akbar. It had a ranking system for all appointments to decide or meaning to determine salary, and also to give them some privileges, meaning to give them some special rights, advantages to the Mansabdars, and they were graded based on the number of men and horses the person commanded means to have control over. Each Mansabdar was required to get his men and horse reviewed. Reviewed means the horses and the men had to be assessed. After that, the Mansabdar, they used to get money for the payment. And to maintain the account, men were registered and the horses were branded. Let's talk about the highest ranking person could attend the court of the emperor. So this person who had the highest ranking, they had 7,000 horses and horsemen, and he was allowed to attend the court of the emperor. The lowest Mansabdar, if we talk about, would be with 20 horsemen and horses, and was considered as a sepoy. Sepoy means an Indian soldier serving under British or other European orders. So this Mansabdar with 20 horsemen and horses, they were considered as a sepoy or a servant. So the other rulers or the Mughal rulers continued to abide. Abide means accept or act in accordance with the rule decision by this system with minor variation. Variation means slight differences. So now we will talk about the last topic of the video, which would be the agrarian policy or the agricultural policy. We have come to the last topic of the video, which is agrarian policy, meaning the agricultural policy. So the Mughals, they maintained a fair consistency. Consistency means the quality of always behaving or performing in a similar way. So it means that the Mughals maintained the similar way of quality in the agrarian or agricultural policy, and little changes were or minor changes were noticed. The main source of the revenue income for the rulers was the agricultural produce, and Todar Mal, he was the revenue minister of Akbar. He played an important role in devising, means he invented a new and effective means successful in producing a desired result of land revenue system. So again here this land revenue means a state's annual income from which the public expenses are met. So there was a policy where the land was divided into 4 categories according to the produce. So let's know about these 4 types of land. First was polage. This land that was regularly cultivated. It means cultivated means to prepare land and grow crops on it or to grow a particular crop. The second would be parauti. So parauti means uncultivated land. This land is held for some time, that is for 1 or 2 years, to regain fertility. That means they stop the cultivation, growing crops, and they leave them for 1 or 2 years to regain its fertility, means to get back the quality of being able to produce young crops. So the third one would be chachar. So chachar means this area of land was uncultivated. Again here, to stop growing for 3-4 years, to regain means to get back its fertility or being able to produce young crops. Now we will talk about the last land, which is banjar, land which was unsuitable for cultivation. So if we talk about banjar land, this was not suitable for growing any kind of crops or any kind of plants. And now we will talk about the process of this agricultural policy. So first of all, the land of each farmer had to be measured and assessed. So this assessed meaning evaluated for fixing revenue rates based on the crop pattern of the last 10 years. Then each province was divided into regions with separate rates for different crops. And this revenue system was known as the Zabt system. This revenue was collected by the headmen or the ruler chiefs. So this headmen or the ruler chiefs, so they are known as village headmen, or they belong to a small village and or a small town. These are known as the chiefs or the leaders of the village. This village headmen or the village leaders were commonly called zamindars. They were termed as zamindars. So the agrarian or the agricultural and administrative policies of the Mughal era means a long and distinct period of history brought a major change in the system of economy. Economy means a system of making and trading things of value, which in the modern world is a system of finance. So this period of the Mughal history or the Mughal period brought a major change in the economy from the early medieval periods. This was same behavior and the process and continuation of policy, and things were more organized. So this word organized means systematically ordered and streamlined. Streamlined means in a simpler working method as compared to the previous periods. Whatever system was there for the agricultural or the administrative policies in the Mughal period, there were only some kind of changes, and it was in a systematic manner. So this period things changed very frequently, means oftenly. However, there was some dissatisfaction or discontentment. As compared to the previous periods, if you see in this Mughal era, there were things when they changed frequently or oftenly. However, there was some dissatisfaction, discontentment. The poor peasants survived only with limited resources. So this word peasants again means farmers. The farmers, they survived only with limited resources, as the laws part of the agricultural produce was taken away. The utilization means the state of having been made use of. So we can say the practical and effective use of wealth collected was paid off to soldiers and artisans to some extent, but the primary producer remained a sufferer. So the last line, these lines, we can say that whoever was the producer, they remained a sufferer, means the one who produced, they had been affected badly by something. So children, the period of the great Mughals had begun in 1526 with Babur's accession to the throne, ended with the death of Aurangzeb in 1707, which marked the end of the era in the Indian history, and the empire of the Mughals was the largest in India. Therefore, I would like to end this chapter with a positive note. Thank you.